Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Bratt, and I'm an assistant professor at the University of Arizona. As you can see, I've got some nice cacti in the background. I am actually currently at the Society for the Social Studies of Science in 2023 here in Hawaii, Honolulu. And I've just presented this work on making qualitative data machine readable in the panel Politics of Data Beyond Representation, organized by wonderful contributors as well here at 4S. So I'm super excited to present for you this work beyond the confines of our wonderful, intimate group of presenters here at the conference, just sharing more widely available. So this study is ongoing. It's based on a paper that I am happy to share the early results of at the Association for Information Science and Technology. Now here, we are still undergoing some interviews, so the provocation of fitting data is still a concept which I'll talk about today, but we're still under development. Also, the concept of data contortions. So here we're going to talk about how scientists, specifically social scientists, are fitting data to research data repositories in the US social sciences. What does this look like? Well, you're going to see a little bit of this animation action, the interface between social scientists and data repositories. Before I begin, I do want to acknowledge that this slideshow and a lot of my thinking and writing around these concepts were done at the University of Arizona, whose land is the ancestral lands of the Tohono O'odham and Yaqui. And with that, as these are the lands upon which the University of Arizona now stands. As an outline of this talk, this is actually part of a broader research agenda that has been focusing on long-term research data management. There's been a rise of big data and with it, big data studies. And part of this goal is, of course, to make that data available and shareable, given the fourth paradigm of science. However, the research problem there is that we lack discipline-specific studies, not only of the efficacy of sharing big data and trying to quantify the sciences, but also what is the influence of data repositories on practice? We have a lot of work that looks at data sharing, data reuse, but what about the other direction of that causal arrow? How are repositories as infrastructures, as centralizing platforms, influencing science practice, both in the quantitative data and qualitative data, as we'll see in this study. Now, what is the goal of our research here? Well, as I said, we are here to promote long-term research data sustainability. And when I say sustainability, I mean preservation and curation and over the long term, as well supporting data scientists in their data practices. And this means understanding their experiences and practices so that we can maintain integrity of those practices, as well as we try to make that data shareable and accessible to others. And so, as you can see, this study is going to go through these particular stepping stones along the way, including we're going to start with background, and then I'll move into sort of based on this background and framework, the methodology, the findings, initial findings, and then we'll go into a discussion and conclusion relative to the concepts we develop here. So, to begin, social sciences and data. What are they? What is the relationship? And how the heck do databases have anything to do with social science data? First of all, it's important to understand that social science is a broad field that's generally concerned with the study of human behavior and social processes. Now, this can be studies of individuals, but also populations to understand human experience, for example. One great example that was recently deposited to the Inter-University Consortium for Political and Social Research is the TransPop study. This is a US transgender population health survey. So it's these kinds of studies that are deposited data and also are within the purview of what we might call social science, as well as labor reallocation and some subjective aspects of human experience, right? Emotion, bias, and capturing these as data. And social science data are observations of social phenomenon, we can say. For example, you might have interview transcripts, and you might conduct a discourse analysis of these transcripts. Transcripts themselves are a type of social science data. Now, data, as we know, or perhaps we don't, this just blew my mind the other day, so perhaps we don't, is that data is not just a unit, right? It's not just a file, but it is a wider concept that encompasses the infrastructure supporting that, what we perceive as a unit, right? So Kitchen, I can definitely link that in the doobly-doo. Kitchen talked about how this is an infrastructural concept. Data is not just, it does not exist without a server to maintain it, to store it. It does not exist without documentation. It does not exist even without the researchers sometimes to explain and show us what it means. So here we can, we'll put a little asterisk in that, but thinking about data in this broader sense, what is the role of databases in social science data? Well, it is similar to quantitative studies such as the Human Genome Project to gather data, to standardize data, to create a big data collection. That is kind of a vision of databases, is that we can now compare and associate data that were previously heterogeneous. Now the data can be searched, it can be analyzed as a single body of information because it's been associated with other data sets. We can share the data, of course, more widely. And we also can add documentation of methods to promote, for example, transparency and to potentially enable reproducibility. We'll get into that. It's a hot topic. Now, making data machine readable, quote unquote, which is kind of the provocation of this particular study, is that we are creating a big data collection by aggregating qualitative data. That is how the data becomes machine readable, is that it's deposited to a centralized platform such as a repository. And in this way, it is digitized, and now it can be searched as a single body of information. So previous studies have showed us that the goal of quantification and computational approaches is that, so quantification relies on aggregating data. You need it to be in a single collection, and it needs to be of good quality. And so it's pulling together heterogeneous sources of data to build these large data sets, for example, for machine learning, for data mining, to search at all. You don't even need to have the goal of aggregating these, just to search for the data that you want. It requires that you submit the data and make it machine readable. And so what this looks like in social science data starts early in the process, right? It starts with data production. Then it continues to data deposit, as well, interacting with the repository staff, as well as training and modeling once you have that deposited. Now here, it's important to step back and say, how is this even possible? Oh my goodness. Well, scientific work, right? That faculty, students, the repository staff makes quantification possible. It makes data machine readable by assembling big data collections through data deposit to research data archives. And with that, we'll have a part 2.